I'm doing all right. Love and peace, happiness and togetherness. Sounds like a good motto to me. I love it.
Welcome back to Wook Plus. I'm Weekend Wook, joined by Kev the Great Went. Kev, pretty good show, man. You know what they say, all's well that ends well, but what'd you think about tonight?
Second set was the best set out of the six.
Yeah, I agree. Completely.
So we'll go there. You and I, we did the set break hang. The people, the members who were there got a little preview of where we're going to go, I guess, with the first set. I wasn't that thrilled with it, but let's dive in and look at it.
All right. Yeah, sorry about that. I'm used to the live intro. Took a bite of my snack bar, and then the intro, and I was like, oh shit, we're live.
Like, 10-second intros.
Yeah, I mean, this is a hit or miss set for sure. There were moments in this set that I thought were absolutely fantastic. Other moments, not so much. Free was a strong moment. I think the sonic impact that they come out with, right? That big hit and Mike being turned up, and the tightness of that initial hit had a nice impact. So I thought this was a strong way to open the set and the show.
Yeah, it's a great opener. It's a big rock and roll song. Everybody knows it. You know, it was almost a hit song for him at one point. And I mean, it didn't get out there. You're not going to get a Blossom Free like they did a few years back every time. But as an opener, yeah, loosen me up. Let's go.
Yeah, hell yeah. And then we got a nice jam. I'm reading the comments, fucking me up. A nice jam right in that second spot of the first set, which, you know, I think was strong. We were discussing at the set break about how this, I think, is better served. Wave of Hope is better served in the second set. But I do like the fact that they took a couple of these out a little bit further in the first set. That was, you know, a nice change of pace.
Yeah, they took it out, but it began and it ended. And then Jin began and ended instead of in a second set where you might get the flow of, you know, one song into the other. I love Wave of Hope. You know, I've been a big proponent of it. We haven't got, you know, a bad one. I wouldn't even say the first one they did was a bad one, but it was 5 minutes. And it was in the set with the whales and the dolphins and all that nonsense. So, you know, it was kind of an afterthought.
I didn't realize that was the first Wave of Hope.
I believe that was. And then the next one that really stands out is that Deer Creek one.
Yeah, no, that was a solid one.
Yeah, in 22. And since then it's been a monster. And this was totally solid, fantastic, you know.
I really like this jam, but I think the Jin jam that came after it was a lot better.
Much more inspired.
Yeah, and original. And like maybe that's just the nature of Jin jams. But this jam, you know, trace it up this ditty, this like melodic thing that Mike picked up almost instantly. And instead of, you know, playing it together or you're, you know, doing like a round, Trey instantly transforms into another counterpoint melody, and Mike just locks in on the original one, keeps it going. And it just was such a fascinating, like interesting thing to do in the jam. And Paige and PHiSH just fucking grooved out with it. So I really, really like this jam. I think this was the first point of the night where I was like really feeling it from a improv standpoint.
Yep. Can I answer Radio's question?
Yeah.
Free. The story, the legend behind Free is that Tom Marshall wrote it after he had a dream about getting married and then throwing his newlywed wife off of a boat, and he was free. So it's a song about murder.
This from like talking to Tom or like an interview, or is this like one of those old lot rumors that used to go around? And
I believe it's in the Fantasy Almanac is where I originally read the story.
Or is this a Kev original rumor where you just started and people are like, oh yeah, Kev said it, so it must be real?
I think I originally read it in the Farmer's Almanac.
Yeah. Okay. I'm
But
not
anyway,
gonna fact check you, so
the gin was fantastic, and I feel like we got to a point. You and I were talking yesterday at the member hang about, you were like, saying songs should be different places in the set list. We were having a back and forth about that, but I think Trey's building of a set list and telling of a story sometimes is as important as what the songs are that were played. And
sure.
I feel like he went to Wilson, he was making a pivot, and then after that it was filling time for the rest of the hour.
Yeah, but I don't know if that is a choice, or I mean, based on the set list choices or on the execution. It's hard to tell for me, right? I think part of it is putting both joy and the connection in the back half of the set, which kind of sucked the energy out of it. But I think part of it, though, and we're kind of hitting a few of these at the same time, but I think that's fine. I think part of it is that Thread didn't hit the way it normally does and then the way it should have. And it's been a while since they last played Thread.
They needed a few more sound checks with it.
Right, get it in their fingers.
Right.
I think if
Did
the
we
Thread
skip
hit,
the
it would have been
connection?
a lot better.
Did we skip the connection?
No, I mean, I was going, all over. So my take on the connection is when I first heard it and when it first debuted, I mean, only played a couple of times and I caught it like
Right.
2 of the 5 or something. I hated it, and that was one of the songs that I bitched about. It's been enough time for me, and there's been enough other new songs that I don't like. Then now it's like, as long as it's not becoming in heavy rotation again, I have no problem with it getting dusted off. There's this idea in my mind of like songs tragically being lost to like the history books and not being alive anymore, right? And I want them to be played, right? So I think first set on a Sunday night in Massachusetts is a good time to dust it off.
I am going to enjoy it at Mondegreen when they play
too.
it.
Like they kind of nailed it.
I'm going to enjoy it at Mondegreen when they play it. And my take on it is, if I didn't know that, if I just heard the song as generic band does this song as their song on their album, The Connection, and I heard it in a bar, it would pique my interest. I'd be like, that's a well-written song. It's got a cool little turn to the lyric, but I don't want to hear it live necessarily. Yeah. So you get points for the album. What, it's Undermined, right? Undermined gets a lot of poop as not being the best album ever.
No, that's not Undermined, is it?
Yeah, I think it was an Undermined.
No. That was on Joy, I think. Or
that was on Joy. All right.
It's a 3.0.
It's a 3.0, right? Oh, so we got 2 Joy songs in the same set. Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah,
I love the jam and Thread, and my thing with Thread is it's like Mercury. It's a long time to get to the cool part for me. And I know people
and then if they don't give you a monster cool part, it's frustrating. Like I liked Mercury when they gave you a monster jam out of it, but then they started just making you listen to, The Connection is Undermined. Why did I think it was fucking Joy?
Thank you, Jason. I knew I wasn't crazy, but I wasn't going to argue the point.
No, well, it debuted in 2009, and
they never played it. They released it and never played it, and then it showed up.
That's where the fucking confusion is. There was a studio in 2.0, and it became debuted in 3.0.
And it goes back to your thesis of them never having the time to workshop all those 2.0 songs because it was over before you blinked.
Yeah. No, yeah, that's very true. What were we talking about? I don't want to.
We were talking about Thread, and Thread had a neat jam, and then they went into something dirty, and I was like, what are they going to do? It sounded like they were going to go into just some weird feedback thing because they had been having fun in the Thread jam, and then they just said, we're going to do Joy, and it's everybody's song.
Yeah.
Not mine, but everybody else's.
I love Joy. I
know you like it. I know you like it. That's why I can't say anything.
No, you can. I mean, fuck. I rip on shit that other people love all the time. My daughter's middle name is Joy, and
that's why I can't say anything. I'm just like going like right.
Like the whole line of like watching her grow and like the little dancer and all that. Like I think about like through the years and like her growing, you know what I mean? So like regardless of how they play, I always get a little like mystified. So for me, it's the opposite. I'm always going to just be like, yeah, fucking awesome. I do think putting that in the same set as like The Connection was much. Like, I think they could have just
one
had
year at
one.
Merriweather, they did a Joy in the first set, and I seem to remember that it sapped all the energy out of that set too.
Yeah.
It just, for me, I feel like that. And then they did a Jim that was completely not memorable. There was nothing much there. I felt a little, I wanted more. I was like, you're rushing through things, Trey. You need to like settle back in.
Yeah.
Take a breath.
They felt like that yesterday too, that there was a little bit of rushing through the show. Listen, I'm not going to argue with you. I pretty much agree with what you're saying. I thought the life-saving gun was really good.
I wanted more though. I'm expecting that to be the breakout vehicle of the summer, but it's going to need to end up in the second set probably.
I think they're still finding it. Right? They've had a couple of really good ones, but I think they're still working it out.
Third time in a row it's closed the first set. That might be where it lives.
They need to figure out some bigger climaxes for it, though. I think that's where it's going to live.
Yeah, the best one was the one at New Year's, the New Year's run.
Yeah, it was really good. Yeah, all right. First set, pretty solid. Only not, actually. I don't think it was super solid. I think it was kind of mid, but it's all right because we ended up getting a very strong, possibly the best set of the.
Oh, slow your roll. We got the Coventry coming out of Fishtail soon, so make sure you're looking for that. Make sure you like and subscribe. If you aren't a member, become a member. We do some cool stuff. We're doing set break hangs through the tour, but there are other stuff. Sometimes we just do Friday hangs when everybody doesn't want to work, and we'll just sit around and BS a little bit. And remember that we are no longer on Twitter, so you got to come over here. Yeah. If you used to watch us on Twitter.
I mean, we have a Twitter account. We just can't live stream because Almo makes you pay for it, and we're not doing that. Also,
thank you, Jason. Thank you, Jason.
Cut it out, man. Also, if you're watching this not live, let us know what you thought about the show and about what you thought about our takes in the comments. I love getting the comments afterwards. All right.
Comments are fun.
What a fucking second set. All right. Woo. Not perfect, though. There were a couple of times, and the only reason I bring this up, there were a couple of times where it was off, right? Like the compositional parts where there were miscues, missed notes. Like they just forgot what they were doing. And Coil was one of them where Trey missed a couple cues. That said, I still thought it was beautiful. It's interesting.
I love it
opener.
Love it opening the set, and they let Page go for just enough. They dim the lights, they let him play a couple bars of it, and then completely like tore the place down. It didn't even cross my mind that they would do a tweezer tonight. So it was perfect. I was like, oh yeah, tweezer. They haven't done that yet.
And boy, did they do it.
A lot of bliss, long bliss before I got to. For me, some interesting stuff about 16 minutes in.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Bliss stuff was interesting. I thought they were really getting out there and exploring it a bit. There were a couple of miscues too, though, which was a little frustrating because I thought that they got to like some really interesting places, and then Fish, in particular, Fishman, and I hate giving him shit because he's my man, but I think he wasn't in sync with the rest of the band a couple of times where like you could really feel Trey trying to pull in some direction and Mike was right on board with them, and then Fish would just kind of be off. Yeah, the numbers next to the songs are the length of the songs.
Minutes. Yeah, with Dead and Company, it was number of times played. With Fish,
yeah, but that's because Dead and Company played every song like 10
I
times.
feel like, you know what, though? I feel like last night, Trey and Fish weren't on the same page. Fish is like, dude, you've been out doing all that press, doing interviews, talking shit about me. What the fuck?
I don't think he's been talking shit about him. Has he? Yeah, I haven't heard any. No, he's always like, I love him. He's the best drummer on earth. No, listen, I think that's part of early Russ. Like when you talk about, I don't think it's individual skill on their instrument because they all play in the off season. I think it's just getting back in sync, maybe. But they still managed to rip some fucking great jams. The Tweezer jam was exceptional, I thought. And then the Sense jam, again, flubby in the beginning, but once they locked into the jam, was another really good jam.
Solid 50 minutes of music there. I thought Sense was an inspired choice with the set list for him. Yeah. I don't know that we've ever gotten a Tweezer Sense before, and they really let it breathe. The intro wasn't as long as I would have liked, but they let it breathe a little bit.
And it was a little fluffy. It was a little off, but
how many times did they? That's the rehearsal thing. Some of these songs, like Sense, deserves that in the second set to be a showpiece. So it probably deserves to get a run through every couple weeks.
They're not going to rehearse, though. That's not at this point.
Not at this point.
And I mean, it's fine because I don't know about you guys, but like I'm not listening to PHiSH right now in 2024 to hear perfect studio quality compositions. Right?
I'm just glad they showed up.
Right, but it's also the choices in the jams and their takes and hearing all of that experience, right? You have 40-something years of experience locking in on the jams. That's the part that I think is what sells the tickets. If they flub, it's like, you don't want them to flub, but it's not going to ruin the show for me.
Right. I kept thinking this is the Sense that we got robbed of last year in Wilmington, which was last night, I guess, was a year ago since that happened.
Yeah. No, I
Twist,
agree.
Fantastic. I got to spend 10 minutes laid on the couch with the cat. It purred, rubbed its face on my face, and Twist was fantastic. Good for them.
Yeah, I agree. Very strong. I mean, this
nice segue to it.
Yeah.
Floated in. They gave it again room to breathe. I think tonight was for Trey some patience that maybe he didn't show the last two nights.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think this cross-eyed, though, was the highlight of the set for me. Probably the highlight of the whole run. Just fucking so much fun, so much energy. Absolutely locked
left field again, like the Tweezer. Never even crossed my mind that cross-eyed would show up tonight.
I feel like cross-eyed has a really high batting average too. Like I can't remember a cross-eyed that didn't completely, take over and inject insane energy into the set. It's and I'm glad that they don't overdo it. Like it's been a while, I feel like, but when it does pop in, it's like really can,
I feel like the last one was one of those that kept popping up again in the set.
Well, that happens. That happened at Dick's a couple of times, right?
Right, maybe with the Guy Forget.
Well, it was It was Chicago and the MSG run. So it was Chicago in the fall last year, and then the summer MSG run was the last two. And I think they were both really good. We will do another cross-side this summer, probably at Monday Green, I would say.
Right, here we go. This is I want to hear your answer to that.
No, I don't think it's overplayed because it's a jam vehicle and most of the cross-side. So yes, the beginning of it is always the same, and the on-ramp is typically very much the same. And then because of that, you might get 3 or 4 minutes of that that simple groove with the hi-hat. But out of all the songs that they really jam out, that's one of the songs that really goes different places every time. So I don't, that's the song you could literally play every single show. And I don't think it would be overplayed, right? Because every time they're going to do it differently.
Yeah. I think it was one of those magic moments for them as a band. And I think that they've revered it in playing it as much as any song they've ever done. So yeah, I mean, there's no way you're going to overplay that one. I've probably seen it once every 4 or 5 shows.
Yeah. I felt like for a while they was almost guaranteed in a run.
Right, you can never know.
If I went to a full run, I was almost guaranteed to get it for a while.
You can never know with Fishnet because I saw the Merriweather Tweezer Fest and I saw the Man Tweezer Fest. So that adds like 6 or 7 tweezers to your total.
No, is that how it works on the stats?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I Hold Your Head Up for the longest time. Behind You Enjoy Myself was my most seen song because they played it before and after the Fishman tune back in the early 90s.
I haven't looked at my stats in a while, but if that's the case, then I probably do have a shit ton of tweezers because I was at both of those shows too. So
Right. So yeah, you get like an extra 6 or 7 out of that.
yeah.
All
No,
right, back
right, but
to the show. We digress.
I know it's great. I love asking questions.
So Slave, I called Slave the first night from as shitty as the traffic was. It had to be the call to close it out.
Yeah, it's one of the more beautiful songs they have, and I think it's a great way to end a Sunday, to end a run. So can't complain. Very strong.
And they don't change from slave to slave. It's a matter of execution,
right? I don't want them to.
Right,
I love it.
Right. If anything, you're going to talk about is the execution, and I feel like Trey nailed it. When you got to the end, the bliss part, it was fantastic. Do you feel like Sense sound? Let me ask you this: do you feel like the jam in Sense sounded like Hood, like the Bliss jam that they did in Sense? I felt like it was almost went Hood on
them. I don't know. I didn't feel that, but it could be.
If it isn't jumping out at you, then I'm probably making shit up. So
you know what? Always, all right. Time to admit something. There's always a split second in the beginning of Slave that I think of Fluffhead, and I think it's because there's one of the guitar licks sounds like the melody from Fluffhead, and I know it's Slave, right? Like I know from the first 2 notes it's Slave, but there's just always this part where it's like, wait, what the fuck is that Fluffhead? No, it's still Slave. I don't know why. Like I made that thought like dozens of times, but
I got a new shirt idea.
What is it?
All right, it says Albuquerque and it's crossed out, and then it says Monsters under it.
All right, I could probably make that happen. We should have a t-shirt contest and see who could sell more t-shirts. Come up, all come up with new ideas.
Contest. Dave, I am surprised how hot they are coming out the box.
I'm not. You're surprised?
They are hot boxing it. Yeah, if the first 3 nights you don't get 3 nights this good to open a tour. One of them's usually really good. The other 2 are usually marginal.
Right, but New York
and no Evolve.
Okay, but New Year's Eve was a phenomenal run, capping off with one of the best New Year's they've had in a decade or more. Then Mexico was by far the best Mexico run they've had out of 8 Mexico runs or 9 or whatever. Right. Like I don't know how many there've been, but by far. Then the Sphere was, for all intents and purposes, a complete success and was completely strong. I had very high expectations going to this tour. And last night I was a little bit nervous. I was like, oh shit, maybe I had too high of expectations. I think they kind of salvaged it tonight, but I'm not surprised at all.
Right. Possum, my youngest thinks Possum's dumb. And then I tried to explain to her that there's a whole history of writing poems and songs to dead animals, like Bukowski's to the dead pigeon in the street.
I'm just gonna leave this up there. I wish I could pin a comment so I just have it readily available constantly.
Oh man. So Possum, fantastic repies. Good for them.
What? Come to jam, Kev. You're so patient the whole show, and then after 20 minutes, you're like, I'm just gonna cut people off and fuck it, let's get it done quick. All I wanted to say about Possum, yes, it was very well done, but that the discrepancy between Fishman and Trey that kept rearing its head nearly derailed it again. They weren't on the same build-up, and I know, like, I sometimes, if I'm like fucked up, will lose that, but they've played this song like 400 times. How do you not have that perfectly memorized and get that far off from each other?
Right. Well, do you think that Trey is changing stuff? Like his vocals on a couple tunes tonight? Or
no, I don't think it was in that case, because I think Paige and Mike were locked in with Trey perfectly. That was 100% Fish.
So Fishman was off.
Yeah.
You're a hero.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. He was off a couple of times tonight, but fuck it. I mean, he's great enough, though, that a fuck up doesn't really fuck everything up. He just, jumps right back in.
Oh, Carrie, Tweezer is not overplayed. And whenever you two get to a show this summer, because I assume that you're going to be bringing him to a show, I hope that he gets a Tweezer and he'll never ask that question again.
Yeah, no, the answer is not overplayed. Sorry if it wasn't straight ahead. Yeah, I know. PHiSH did. Anyway, Possum, super high energy, and I agree with you. Reprise is
Great way to close,
reprise.
and then the reprise, the best 3 minutes in rock and roll.
Yeah. Anything else? We got a night off tomorrow.
See you Tuesday.
Hopefully I get Coventry out tomorrow, but if not, we'll see you Tuesday, 50 minutes after Encore. Thanks, guys. See ya.